everybody, and welcome to DCP episode 4732. We're here to bring you the tippity top of the news.
Totally accurate.
Are you gonna have some random life question for us, Watts, like Briar does?
Oh yeah.
Just pick and go, Fran. So if there was poison in a glass of water and the police
showed up and said, "What's this mysterious substance? What would you do?"
And the questions are always just some aspect of Briar's life he's looking for life advice about.
Yeah, it's definitely experiential usually.
Yeah. The copper is right about to sniff it, and you're standing there knowing it's poison, knowing you're gonna get found out. What do you do?
Okay, so I'll ask then, because Briar's gone. So Watts,
Yes.
right now the doorbell rang.
Yeah.
And you're like, and it keeps ringing, so I gotta go get it. And you go down, and it's Briar with a police officer at your door.
Okay.
What is your first thought of what is going on?
My first thought is that he's definitely the one in trouble. And they're bringing him around and being like, "Do you know this man? Does he look familiar?"
My first thought is Watts is an alibi for something Briar's done, and he's gone, honestly, take me to her house. She'll cover for me.
Yeah, exactly. So my initial reaction, Briar's in trouble.
You're an alibi.
They're here because they need me to lie about something to give Briar
They
alibi.
need you to lie about what?
Yeah.
I think he's in trouble and he clearly needs you to lie about something.
Yeah. So he's like, the cop is like, "I found this man. He says that he was hanging out with you on Friday night, but we have him on
in the background going."
Yeah, he's like,
but we have him on CCTV camera being at the Polo Club, where there was a massacre caused by a Molotov cocktail bomb that he says he had nothing to do with." And I'll go, he's with me. I think your cameras are lying.
True.
AI checks out.
Blame AI.
It's AI. Yeah, you seen what the kids are doing these days? Losing their brain cells to AI?
Yep.
There was a study. There was a study about it.
Oh, because like they're just grabbing answers and copy pasting, so to speak.
Yeah. It
and
says
so they don't learn anything, but they are testing out like, oh wow, I mean, I finished my test.
Yeah, they did like a little bit of a look at it, and it initially started with people using like ChatGPT, kind of like how you would use Google, right? Just to get like an answer in one place.
Yeah.
And then they would use that to write their own stuff. But then they found that as they kept using it more and more, they ended up just copy and pasting. And
yeah, because
not doing any actual work.
Yeah, I mean, it is wild having access to that now, right? There's nothing that's like before, I mean, even Google was helpful, but you could probably find like message boards where people could just like trade or who knows. But now it's literally like the AI, servers will write your essay if you want it to. And you can even pay a monthly subscription to improve that quality probably. And like,
yep.
And you don't even have to read it, bro. I mean, it's amazing.
I remember when I was going through uni, back in my day, when I was doing assignments, you had to get a physical, like often there was a, like you have to get a physical journal article at some point for your references. Like there was just like, we don't want you using the internet for everything.
We couldn't even use calculators. We weren't allowed to have calculators in the class or the book in the class. You had to like actually learn how to problem solve, how to find solutions.
We're sounding really old now, aren't we?
Well, don't blame when you say, "Oh, look at these old people being old." Don't blame me when the world goes to crap because no one can figure out how to fix a problem unless the AI knows how to do it. And then the AI overlords decide that they want to be the one in charge and you don't know how to do anything against it. You can't run the world without AI.
The robots will overtake us.
It's happening. It's going to happen.
Copy that.
It's funny. It is really relevant. I don't know if you've seen that it's floating around and you can access it, the AI mode on Google now, but it's getting defaulted for some, or you can opt in as a default.
Most of mine,
all of mine are,
like AI
overview.
Well, the search is giving you an AI result, but there's an AI mode if you haven't seen it. It's like I haven't seen it. And it starts and so it creates the full like ChatGPT style experience, etc., within the Google results. So now you're getting the full article creation and breakdown. And so, in other words, I typed in, "Is Firebreak any good?" And, it'll do the usual reviews are mixed. Well, some players are saying this is enjoyable, others express disappointment. It's got a co-op focus with so it's writing the, IGN article, etc., but without, it's pulling from all those sources.
Yeah, yeah.
And so anyway, it's putting everybody, who's creating in those platforms in danger. And in theory, it's still in our future too. It's like eventually they'll just comb all this audio.
Oh,
And
dude,
people
I've
won't have
seen
to click on the podcasts or the
mhm.
plays because it's just gonna comb through a transcript and
I
it'll link.
saw
But like, in other words, are people still gonna click, or do they just stop
right.
caring about all of this?
They just walk. Yeah, I saw an AI mukbang. So there's
Yeah.
and the
Oh, the
AI
ASMR stuff
streamers
is.
and stuff, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the video ASMR stuff as well as out there. Have you seen this yet? There's like a bunch
The
of
glass
ASMR
cutting
because the
fruits.
VO3, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like that's one of the ones that popped off, but
Yep.
like unusual but super hyper realistic looking ASMR stuff.
Yep.
That stuff is actually really neat. Again, like on one side, I don't have a problem with that idea if it's like it's clearly AI, it's a weird thing. You want to watch it, fine. It's like watching, when we used to like just put on the TV like a screensaver style audio thing, or even today well, actually a lot of that's AI generated. I'm like lo-fi, Japanese hip
Yeah,
hop,
they
right?
are.
And it's
Yep.
like an
It's
AI
all AI
generated
generated.
background and AI generated music. So actually you got to be careful. But I don't mind if it's like clear, but then you get into the question about, well, what are you still going to watch the ASMR creators if you're into that? Or
Right.
is it just going to take over that it's some AI junkie with a budget, by the way, so they're paying for this, and then they can just take all your food out of your mouth, really. Scary times.
I saw one thing where I was like, this is what AI is cool to do. And it was someone who like sews and weaves and all of this stuff, like little very intricate characters and the backgrounds and like tables and the food. Like they make all of that and then they use AI to animate it because they don't know how to animate. And I was like, this is the kind of thing where
Yeah.
it's just like elevating your art. You're doing something that you want to do. You don't know how to animate, but everything that you've created is yours. I was like, that's something where I'm like, oh yeah, that's like a good use of it. But everything else.
Yeah,
is
I've been
dumb.
using or I've been trying to teach myself some new skills because I think that's sometimes better than being on my phone. So I'm learning like Blender at the moment,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh,
there's
really?
definitely
Nice.
like AI plugins that can help you do stuff, like rigging and stuff like that, but still using like all my own assets or like video game assets. If I want to make a thumbnail and like rigging it and 3Ding it and then putting it in Blender and like moving around. And there's heaps of stuff that, you know, can be used to help you in your everyday job. I think when it's just like you're 100% using AI and the product is 100% AI is when it's like you're in that end game of you're not creating anymore. You're not actually
Right.
like doing anything.
Yep.
Like when it's doing all the work and it's producing all
You're
the
losing
creative
your
outcomes.
skills. You're not actually.
Yeah.
You don't have any skills
Whereas
at that point.
like anything, if you're using it as a tool, like I use it a lot in thumbnails because now I can generate like if a background's not the right resolution and I've got like a piece missing, like it's in Photoshop as AI generate and it
Yeah,
will just take
AI
those pixels.
expansion.
It's like I'm just using it as a tool to, get a 1080p thumbnail.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly. That's,
Yeah.
I would say, a good use of it, because you're just like expanding some pixel range. Whereas the opposite side in discussion would be, well, this is where it gets tricky. It's like I can't afford and even hire someone to make my thumbnails. I would love to, but I can't. So AI is going to get smart enough so that I'm just going to ask it to do it. And so there's all the above. Like we're going to run more and more into this. It's like, well, you can't afford it, so you wouldn't have anyway. But now you're using it. So where did they ever have the chance to be hired anyway? And so that's where I think about it a lot. I use in a lot of different ways too, like that. And yeah, for me, that's I guess what I'm trying to say is the AI stuff. There's no way of avoiding it. You should be aware of it. But I mostly boil it down to, can you afford to hire someone for this job? Because please do, if so, and try to think about. In other words, I still take the irony is I'll still take an Uber over Waymo in San Francisco, the self-driving, not because out of fear, but I'm like, man, like Uber already killed a lot of
Taxis.
taxi driver problems. Now, granted, the taxi driver issue is like they're were toxic and problematic, but putting all that aside, I think mostly about like, maybe that's a good example. It's like, hey, there's people driving an Uber, like fine, that's just how it is. are you going to start using self-driving just because it's going to happen anyway and put people out of work faster? I don't know.
I want an AI that cleans my dishes and washes my clothes.
Yeah,
and then
the
I
in-home robot
have
stuff.
AI do all the like boring stuff I have to do so that I as a human can use my creative humanity to create wonderful things.
Yeah.
That's what we should be doing.
This is the argument, of course, from every like top of the tech.
Did this start from a Briar conversation? Is this why Briar does these conversations at the beginning?
I don't know how we got to the AI part after Briar got arrested. But yeah, I was gonna say the argument is always
the CCTV was AI. The CCTV video of Briar committing the crime was AI.
Yeah, that's how we got here.
No.
But yeah, the idea that like it'll take over these menial jobs, which then we can be more productive as a society, and somehow that works. You know, there's more money, there's more creativity, there's more, right? Like a renaissance because of it. That like, why would you go and wash dishes as a job? Because now, you know, you can do this other thing. Yeah. But the missing piece that it's never been described to me, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. Like, let's all start painting and sell art again. Sure.
Well, you can invent
like,
things
instead of the AI.
You could be an inventor or make movies or
where's the money
create video game content
in the ecosystem, right? That's what I wonder. Seems like it's just the CEOs that are just going to take more. Billions is the problem. Right?
So Fran says we should eat the billionaires and take their money.
Yes.
Good.
Copy that.
Let them eat cake.
Speaking of billionaires, Bungie. How are they doing?
Good segue.
Big Bungie news.
Yes, big Bungie news. BBN.
They actually said we're not releasing Marathon this year, and we don't have a release date. Is that
Marathon
indefinitely and officially delayed?
The indefinite word. I listen, like we were saying earlier, that technically that is correct, that it is indefinitely delayed because they don't have a date. But when people hear indefinitely, they hear forever. So I know what you're doing.
Yeah,
everybody.
Exactly. All it's saying is they delayed it and they didn't give a date.
Yes.
And so until we know more, it's just delayed.
It's just delayed.
This report is further confused. I don't have the quote in front of me, but it was days before this happened, and maybe this put pressure. Herman Hulst on a fireside chat, I believe, right, the head of the all the development teams, etc. Head of, I think he's Sony Interactive. I forget his exact title, but you all know Herman Hulst. But anyway, he had been talking about their live service lineup and Marathon, and it sounded more like, and there was some related stuff that it was in the fiscal 2025. Which ends at the end of March.
Yes.
So you have a situation where it sounded like, looked like it's in there. They didn't officially, announce that as like it will be out before the end of March 2026. But you had that news, him talking, and then days later, Bungie's like, we've delayed it. And the important part, we're going to update you in the fall about that date.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So it's really Marathon officially delayed until we tell you in the fall.
Yes. So they put out an update. This was June 17th. So it was like 2 days if you're watching this the day of the podcast. And they basically said that obviously there's a lot going on with Marathon, but these are the things that they want to immediately focus on when it comes to trying to make the game better. So they're wanting to focus on more challenging and engaging AI encounters, more rewarding runs with new types of loot and dynamic events, making combat more tense and strategic. So those are the main kind of focus. But what they did say is what they're trying to create is compelling survival under pressure, mystery, lore around every corner, raid-like endgame challenges, and then, of course, Bungie's FPS combat. So the first thing that they're doing is upping the survival game with what we just listed. What do you think about that for upping the survival game?
Yeah, I think... honestly, this is almost a checklist of all the things that I said Arc Raiders had and Marathon didn't. And I kind of made this point that I think Arc Raiders saved Marathon in a roundabout way. Because if Arc Raiders open beta didn't come out, and if Marathon didn't and continued to have a closed alpha, I think we could be in a very weird timeline where Marathon drops in a really poor position. So I think... you know,
They're probably
no,
saving him a little bit too, to be honest.
All of that needed to not happen, but yeah.
I think the interesting thing about extraction shooters is, in my opinion, it's the feel, and it's very hard to describe all the components that go into making an extraction shooter feel tense. They get your heart pumping when you're getting loot out. And I don't think Marathon had the feel. And they're kind of talking about things that I think will help the feel. The survival aspect, the raid-like endgame stuff, you know, the world feeling a little bit more alive and environmental storytelling, and combining that with what they say is, you know, Bungie's genre-defining FPS combat. So I think we're in the same boat as before. Is like, yeah, these are all the right conversations. I guess it's just disappointing it's not further along. And like, this question is still going to be like, whenever you do decide to release it, like, what state are these aspects going to be in, and can you fix it before then? But I agree with the aspects of, I do think challenging and engaging AIs need to be there, because anyone who played longer into the alpha probably found that everyone was starting to avoid AI combat because it just reveals your position, and then you get third partied, and it was like, and there wasn't a huge reward for taking them out. So it was kind of like, okay, we're just going to wait to hear gunshots and then pursue that later. Whereas when you start, you know, increasing the reward and having like AI that seeks you out, and it may be hard to scoot around, you know, then everyone gets caught up in AI combat. And I think that's a better scenario to have, is like everyone's fighting their own battles and they come together and punch on.
Yeah,
Girlfriend.
Oh, no, I want to let you finish those up.
Yeah, I was just having a look at the other points there, like rewarding runs and loot type. I think, you know, Ark, I don't think Ark did this very well either. And this is what happens when you simplify like loot and extraction shooters, where you've just got like a tier system where it tells you how much it is. But in other extraction shooters, like, you'll find something drop, and it's kind of like Galahorn dropping for you in a raid. You just got but you can lose it, right? So that's the kind of like excitement I think loot needs to feel, is like, oh, I'm doing this raid for the 20th time. Like, holy shit, Galahorn just dropped, and now I got to get out, and I want to take that out with me because I don't want to lose it. And I don't think Marathon had that feel yet of like having really valuable things to get away with. So that I think that's important too. And then combat tense and strategic. I think that AI, I think like the types of enemies also just felt like shoot in the face. There was one with the shield and that, but like, they were humanoids. You know, I didn't feel like there were more strategies to take them out than, apart from just making sure everyone was shooting at the same time or just avoiding them. So there was the one friend of the podcast, Holtzman, original DCP member, that designed, which I think was probably one of the better AIs, which was the ghost one that went like invisible and like made clones that went out and was like quite terrifying if you were by yourself. But that was probably the standout enemy, right? Compared to everything else, it was just like bots.
I was gonna say, I think you made a really good point with Ark arriving on the scene. I mean, competition is always good, but I think you have a combination of things happening. I'll start with I talked a lot about, I'm like, well, it's just a closed alpha. Like, let's see what they got. And it just seems more and more apparent that I think that was a lot of what they had. It's a little surprising that even though some was a little limited, but they had the hands-on preview. And like, the point I'm trying to make is like, if that's what you had, like, you're not really selling me on you had much more to show, but you want to take time and polish it up. I think there's some of that it just was not ready, and they needed the time. And in other words, Arc Raiders has really, above all, allowed them to get there with Sony, probably because without it, it's more like, hey, like, you had your time, get it out there. And now they're staring Arc Raiders in the face as a direct kind of extraction experience, and Sony has to answer. They don't want egg on their face, you know, with that. I think it's a little bit of that, and it's like, fine, you need more time. Let's see what you can do. We're going to give you until basically probably when it was supposed to come out in the fall. And then you show us what you can change and what direction you're moving in, and that will give you this extra 6 or 7 months or whatever. So that's really good in the end. And I think you're hearing from Bungie in a way where they're like, they're just going to stick to like, we want to build this with you. Thank you for your feedback. I said this to Myelin, and it could be wrong or right, but I'm like, if you read through this, it's like, you know, they want to have challenging and engaging AI, rewarding runs, tense combat, you know, better visuals. And it's like, what was the plan then? You know, like, to me, it was more like, we hear you, we're not there yet, but we're not going to say like it wasn't finished. We're just going to say,
Yeah.
yes, you're right. And we need more feedback. Not that the feedback isn't, I mean, it's super valuable to them. So I think you have a combination of those things, and I'm more than happy that it's delayed. Like, give them time. I thought the
Yeah.
game had, some potential in there, but I was always like, there's got to be more, so.
It felt
see.
very empty, right? It was like I really like I like a lot of what they're doing, but in terms of an extraction shooter, it had none of the elements that really make you want to pick an extraction shooter over any other shooter.
Mm.
So the thing from this first point that they put that I would be excited about is dynamic events for sure. Because
Mhm.
it's like when I think about Nightreign, right? And how Morgott can
Yeah.
invade you. And you've got this really dangerous thing that is now just roaming the map trying to murder you. If you had something like that from the Marathon universe, because they have a wealth of enemies to pull from that are really creepy aliens in Marathon, and you throw that in the map, and then maybe you even make it to where one team alone can't take it down. So now you would be incentivizing people to actually work together. Because further down here, they do say that they will be adding prox chant. But in my opinion, Marathon has literally zero reason to talk to anyone. There's nothing that encourages teamwork in any way. Nothing's hard enough. Nothing is stressful enough. And like you were saying, Myelin, you don't really find anything that's valuable enough to where you want to like beg for your life. So there's really no reason for prox chat. So if they could add some dynamic events where something happens, you're like, oh my God, there's that crazy alien there. And then you hear that someone's around you and you're like, okay, guys, we can't take this out individually. We got to work together. Then we start seeing more of, I think, what we would expect from Bungie in this universe and making this genre, and not just like, yeah, shooting feels good. Like that was kind of it. Even extracting, I was like, I'm chilling. There was never any worry about extracting ever.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think they took a lot of the pain points out of extraction, because I think it is a legitimate issue in extraction shooters where you get exit campers, people who are sitting right on an extraction point and just kind of sniping you as you approach. But they did it to such a point, there was probably no tension anymore when it came to extracting.
There's not.
Everyone had either left or you just were on different sides of the map. And I actually think they spoke about that in their first stream back when they addressed the art stuff.
I
They
think
actually
so,
talked
yeah.
a bit about the extraction part of it as well. There's some other dot points here we should probably go over to the marathon, doubling down on the Marathon universe. This is kind of an interesting dot point in general. Because originally you're like, well, it looks nothing like the originals. I played the originals. I played Marathon 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And there's a very different vibe than what we're seeing here. Like, there's no real direct aesthetic link between them.
Yeah, it's
let
like
alone
dark,
really
shiny spaceship,
story.
right? Horror spaceship, right?
What's that?
I said Marathon, would you say it's like a shiny, spaceship horror?
Yeah, I guess with the theme of kind of
it's
like
such an old
spaceship
game,
horror,
so.
sure, yeah. I mean, it's hard when it's something so old, right? To like
Yeah.
be true to the universe, because there's only so much you can do back in 1994. But to be true to the Marathon universe, I mean, the USEC robots, like, I don't even think they're in there. There are some cyborg clones, but all the rest are like other aliens. Like the 4 look like the Fallen. There's like Hulk units. The Sphit are kind of Destiny's version of the Scions. They're like a species enslaved, or they enslave everyone else, and then they have like this. They're like a Scion mixed with a Vex. Like, there's some cool alien species in there that just we don't see in Marathon. And I think the USEC robots were not super well received, just from their design, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I think the where they say a darker tone, they could keep the same aesthetic, because we've seen like the other, like the trailer that they had, the crazy one, that was dark.
It can be creepy.
That was a darker. Yeah, they could definitely pump up the creepiness, like cosmic horror kind of stuff.
Definitely like indoor, obviously the outdoor areas, and this had increased visual fidelity here. And I likely refers to the outdoor sections.
Yeah, definitely.
But the indoor sections, like the first couple of times I played Marathon, I was like, oh, this can be creepy sci-fi. Like this some of these corridors and colors, like I think you can do some really good juxtapositioning when things are bright and still make it kind of creepy. And
Definitely.
I think they capture that in the music actually.
They do.
The music does a really good job of doing like that sci-fi horror. So it's, you know, Bungie can definitely do it. I think the outdoor areas are a lot harder to deal with
Yeah,
to,
definitely.
you know, and the way that Arc deals with that is by putting big ass robots and just making the outdoor environments feel very threatening from like an environmental point of view. And so every time you're outdoors, you're like, oh fuck, it's like, I hope nothing like stomps on me. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Whereas,
actually, you know
yeah,
what? That kind of reminds me of, you know, the very first trailer we saw of Marathon, and there was the person running, and on their back there was like a countdown timer. That initially I was like, I wonder if that's some kind of like oxygen or toxicity or something. They could even experiment with that, where you know there's weather changes, and the weather is going to mess with
yeah,
maybe your HUD, your
yeah,
map, it's going to start making your health go down. I think just and more threats, and it's kind of what I said about like if you think about random weather events. If they added random weather events that were truly threatening, then you'd go outside and go, guys, we got to get to that other building, but we're going to start
yeah,
taking damage like halfway through this. So I
yeah,
think
yeah,
they don't have to like fundamentally change everything about the game in order to make it more threatening, creepier, a darker tone. They can just kind of fiddle with things they already have.
yeah.
I think.
I think I think a pull push scenario between outdoor and indoor environments really helps with the pace of extractions, where it's like you kind of feel threatened no matter where you go. Like you go inside, like we could find players also taking cover in here, and you go outside and there's patrols and there's robots and there's sentry turrets and there's dynamic events. You're like, oh fuck, I don't want to be outside. You get back inside, and you're like,
Yep.
hey, please don't shoot me. I'm down on my last health. You know, like I don't think Marathon in its current state had that push and pull between trying to pick like an area where you're not going to get messed up. It was
Yep.
just kind of like outdoors were just routes to get to the next indoor section.
You were just chilling. You were kind of just chilling the whole time.
The only part that I felt that is the ticks, right? You have those little narrow
Yes.
canyons, and you had to make a decision between making noise and shooting the tick and then coming down through like a, you know, a funnel where someone could just snipe you, or you deal with running away from an enemy. I think that's like starting the beginnings of something like in the environment where like, oh, someone's been through here, so we should be careful. Or no one's been through here yet, but we've got to make gunshot noises. Or if we don't address them, they're going to start attacking us, and then
We're
make
gonna
gunshot
die. They
noises
freaking
anyway.
hurt.
But like, so you got all these multi layers
Yeah.
of like threats happening from what is a pretty simple thing. It kind of needs more of that, right?
Yeah. I need to be more
Yeah,
threatened. And that's ultimately like I haven't played a lot of extraction shooters, but the one that I did like was The Division Dark Zone. And the reason I liked it is because of the intensity and always feeling threatened and making the decisions of do I want to take this out because I know people can hear me and I know they're not very far away. But I really never had any of those thoughts while playing Marathon. Marathon plays
Yeah.
like a BR, but it is an extraction shooter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, my bigger issue was actually the PvP stuff. I mean, all that stuff is accurate and it needs all of that. But I personally, yeah, I did feel that like I just didn't want to get in PvP engagements, and part of that came from, you know, as the population shrank quickly with the alpha there. You know, it was easy to get farmed, and like the time to kill I thought was super fast. And that yeah, I felt like I wasn't going to find anything that was going to help with this. I couldn't really come in the next round even like unless you killed someone. And even then it was like maybe you'd get out with a purple gun. And so I was like a lot of that, as I always say, I'm like, well, it must be because it's the closed alpha. Like you're not going to walk out with a legendary gun or something that's like totally dope and come back and be like, okay, now I'm getting a few kills. So I never really felt that. And it just felt like I was just trying to get out, you know, electronic pieces and stuff to do my skill tree upgrade.
Yeah.
But that took like 40 hours of that stuff. And then like through that loop, my point is I still always felt like every time I got an engagement, it was like 2 people are down, it's just you. Or I'm down, 2 people are up, but I'm already down and they don't have a good chance anymore. And it was like how do you get better at that without, you know, having a really good team and just I didn't know where to go from there. If that
Well,
makes sense.
I mean, it's interesting hearing your comments on that because the time to kill in Marathon is a lot longer than other extraction shooters in general. Like Tarkov,
Yeah.
you won't even see your enemy. You get one tap. You're like, okay, I didn't even get to participate. I think most of the time in Marathon, like you'll have some time to like react or go invisible or seek cover. But I think more to your point of how PvP should be, after playing Arc Raiders, I think that the way to make extraction shooters is to first make a really good PvE game because apparently that's how Arc started as
Yep.
like a looting shooter, and then the PvP is just the cherry on top. And I think if that is the overarching like guiding principle of your development, I think you'll make all the right decisions to make a proper survival game that has PvP elements rather than making a battle royale.
Yep.
And I think if Bungie can do that and just focus, because they're fucking great at PvE, let's face it.
They're
like, they
also
can do some
great at
good-
making things like creepy and unnerving without it being, you
Yeah.
know, like horrifying and gory or anything. We saw what they've done
Yeah.
on when we went on the ship in Destiny, the creep ship with the flowers stuff. That's creepy.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah, like the Hive in
The Hive
Destiny
are
has
creepy,
always
yeah.
had great horror themes without, having to decapitate stuff.
Yeah.
No.
Yep. Presage. Yes, that's what I said.
Presage.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's like I would
yeah.
like to. That's the game I would want myself, but I had also understood it seemed like they wanted to make a very PvP focused game, but that's where
Yeah.
like the balance felt to me. I was like,
Yeah.
I'd rather play Apex because the time to kill is a bit longer, especially when you get your higher shields. But also like you're not the grind is different. You just might find some good loot in a box within a 25-minute run. So
And I think if you think of like what Bungie's strengths are, like it's surprised they didn't double down on like making really PvE centric extraction shooter.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
selfishly, I absolutely would just prefer that period. Like,
And obviously it would do a lot better crossover
Hunt
for the
is-
Destiny fans too. And like, I mean, this is kind of what I've said to a lot of people who are thinking about playing Arc, and they're like, I actually want to play this because there's so much PvE involved in it. And like, yeah, I'm going to run into some players, but maybe I'll talk to them and say, listen, I'm pretty busted up here. Do you want to work together? And I think you need a PvE, like what said, there's no reason to chat to people in Marathon. And you need a really strong PvE focus to
You do. Yeah.
encourage teamwork. And
Yeah,
it
it's so
was just all kind of absent.
Yeah, I do think it's funny. It's the exact opposite of what I think they were going for. Is they wanted
They wanted
PvP hungry encounters, people
centric,
chasing, and in the
Yeah.
midst you might get into some PvE and some other stuff. And
And that's like not
And
an
that- yeah, like-
extraction shooter, is it? It doesn't really work. It doesn't give you the right
they
give you the
were-
right tension
yeah.
or pressure or anything if it's
Well,
just
not if you
people.
can't- not if you can't put those gates in, like you're getting at, and that's where like I
Yeah.
think there's a balance either way. Is like you get more PvE stuff in there where like that gate is there. It's hard to go chase people down because you can't just barrel through everywhere. I haven't played Tarkov in a while, but that was also the difference. You could get hosed by PvE really easily.
Yeah.
But also a huge difference in Tarkov. You could lay in the grass and hide, and somebody will literally walk over you. As a solo player, like you can't do that in this game. It's no comparison. It's very hard to hide anyway, especially when they have like wall hacks, to find people. So it's very different in that respect. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see like what can they do with probably what is the push for 6 months, right? Get out before GTA, late March.
Yeah.
It's always been a window for Bungie revenue as well. Now they're back on. I think we're seeing June and December now again for the 2 expansions. So I think they would love to get it out at that time because then they would run into like, right, March, June, December, probably another March. And then in between the Destiny stuff, just from a revenue perspective, I could see them wanting to get it out in March, plus the avoiding slower summer as well as just the GTA bomb, whenever that is.
Let me picture this, right? And see how this sits in your mind, right? So
okay.
Elden Ring took enemies from Elden Ring, the base mechanics from Elden Ring, and made a roguelite. Imagine they just took all the assets from Destiny, right? All the enemy types, and that was the game, right? And you could get an exotic drop Galahorn as a loot, right? And then you run around with Galahorn, but just But you see, like, I feel like in my head, having all those PvE mechanics with the PvP on top and having to gather loot actually starts to like make sense for me of like
Are you
what would
saying
make a
you
really fun game.
are you saying you want the Destiny branding though, or you're just saying
No, I'm just
the
saying,
Like
like, as an
assets-wise,
example,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
like imagine if Marathon had as much PvE assets as Destiny, and that was
Oh
in
yeah.
it with enemy variety, enemy types, how you tackle different enemies, ones that charge you, ones that fly, ones that move around, ones that have shields, ones that don't have shields, ones that are vulnerable to punching, ones that, you know, and you think about like, oh, well,
Yeah.
they've designed all
Champions,
this
all
stuff
sorts.
before. Like they've done all this stuff before, and I actually think it can be applicable to an extraction shooter, and that would be a point of difference from every
It's
other
funny.
extraction shooter.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I do give them too much credit. I keep thinking like, well, clearly that's what they want. But you look at it and you're like, none of that's ready or there. I just think it's not ready above all. And now they're like, how do we get something out there, in the 6 months of extra time we may have? Yeah, I'm making up that number based on these recent reports. It could go longer. We'll know in the fall. Well, yeah, let's see what they get in the fall, I guess.
We'll
It's
see.
gonna be
I'm
a wait.
just like, man, there's so many cool things that they could pull on, and it does make you wonder what was there, because we heard from people like Scaro, who was talking about how the marathon ship has like dungeon-esque mechanics, and it's really hard, and it's like really intense. But we haven't seen it, so it's hard to say like, well, what is there? I don't know. And
Yeah,
then
usually
in order
those
to make like the marathon ship, let's say the marathon ship is really great, it's got all those things. You're gonna have to put that on your other maps as well. It can't just be
yeah, and like
one thing.
that's what I was just thinking. Is I don't think it's designed to be that. In other words, it is a
Yeah.
special, intense, focused mission, but it's not exactly the main gameplay loop. Now, again, I'm guessing, but that's based on like Tarkov has certain missions where it's like, dude, it's like lights out in dark hallways, and like it's a very different, intense experience versus like, okay, you have some sunlight to deal with maybe, or they have night missions as well, but the point is they're very specifically super intense. And so yeah, I could see them having that. And I always bring up the Call of Duty as well with the Black Card Labs or whatever it was in DMZ, which is really awesome. And I could see that the ship was sort of intent to be like a pinnacle type activity. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
simple way to put it in Destiny terms. And everything can't be a pinnacle. So what is the core gameplay? That, is where they just got to fix it
Mm.
or show it. One of the two.
Ooh,
There's a lot on the plate.
there's a
Hopefully they
lot.
can get through it. Hopefully they can get through it.
Yeah, I really
Yep.
hope so. I will always root for literally any game from any dev to do well, because the more good games that are available is good for me. And clearly there's a lot of people working on all of these games, Destiny and Marathon, and I would love for them to get a W instead of constant negative
Well,
sadness.
yeah.
That'd be great.
I mean, if they actually achieve this tick list, Marathon will be in a really good spot. I do believe that it'll be in a really good spot to keep developing and secure a player base. It's just a matter of how much of this checklist, how much are they going to get 50% done, 60% done, 20% done, 90% done. Like how much of this can they get through?
Yep.
Yeah. And obviously they are, they've really changed their tune on Prox chat, and I'm glad for it.
They
I
have, yeah.
think I'm obviously listening on that. They've listened and talked and made a decision to include it, and I think that's fantastic. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it'll add to the
Yeah, like
experience.
usually in proc chat, it's like you can just turn it off if you don't want it,
Yeah.
That's usually a good way to solve if you find it toxic, etc.
On a side note,
Yeah.
I played Division 1
Mm.
this week, and
Oh,
specifically survival mode. And I can't believe Ubisoft basically had all these extraction elements before it was even a fucking thing. It
It's
is
annoying, isn't it?
so good. The environment, I don't know. Do you know anything about survival mode in Division 1?
I do, yeah.
You
We've talked about it a
basically,
number of
like,
times
it's a
now, but I
blizzard
feel like it, yeah.
outside, and like I said, you have this push pull between keeping warm, and engaging enemies and potentially engaging players. Not many players playing anymore because it's 10 years. It's 2016, so no one's.
Crazy.
There's a couple people there, but like, yeah, you're seeking shelter. You have to keep up your food, your water. So you have to keep looting, and then it's got all your loot and shooter elements in it too. So you're, like Nightreign, you're putting together a kit as you play. Potentially meeting players are going to take resources from you. You can choose PvE or PvP. It is like an insanely good mode, and literally every single time I've played Division 2 or Division 1, people talk about survival mode still.
Yep.
From 2016. Probably the most common comment in my streams when I did Division 2. I miss survival mode. It's basically an extraction shooter.
Yeah. What was the year that survival mode hit, by the way? Do you remember?
2016.
Oh, you said that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild, right? Almost.
And it
10
looks
years.
amazing. It looks amazing too. Like it's incredibly polished for that year.
It's annoying because they had the Dark Zone, which everyone was like, "Oh, this is really fun and really intense, and you've got all of it like really well done." And then they had Survival as well, and they just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
They did nothing.
just-
they
yeah,
just sat on
crazy.
it.
It's just Ubisoft's DNA, right? Yeah, from the top, they were like, well, we're these big open worlds with side quests. Every game is going to be that, right? I mean, I think that was just the top down for the most part. Anything outside of that, like, I'm trying to think, did they have like much of a multiplayer online anything going?
I don't know
Rainbow
how
Six, I
popular
guess,
it
would be
was, but there was a multiplayer. There's a multiplayer like playlist, PvP playlist. But that was kind of the hook, really, is the Dark Zone and survival mode. And it's like, I made this comment. How hyped were people for that scam game? What was it?
The day before.
Day after.
The day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow, whatever it was called.
Day
Wait,
after
one of those is
before.
a movie.
We didn't
Yeah.
need it.
The day
We-
before.
We had survival already. It is a 1,000 times better than whatever that garbage was. People just wanted to be in an urban environment like DayZ that wasn't DayZ, and kind of have extraction elements, crafting elements, surviving elements, and just run around and be a pest to people, really.
Yep.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
I wish them nothing but the best. And I hope they can fit in a lot of stuff. Let the creators create. Because we heard from all of these reports that like people at Bungie were like, we really should have like a PvE portion of this game. And they just clearly, again, did not listen to the people that they have hired to do the job. Just listen to them. Just listen to them.
Yeah, and like that back and forth of, no, go this way, go this way, go this way, go this way, versus that focus of like, we're just doing what we know feels right, and you get a very different result.
Yep. Real quick Destiny stuff, because there is a stream happening, so I want anyone who's interested to know about that. June 24th at 10 a.m. Pacific, they're doing a developer live stream for The Edge of Fate. So if you are interested in that, there's also going to be a Twitch drop for an emblem, which looks pretty cool.
When's Edge of Fate coming out? When are we looking at this?
I don't know.
July
I thought
15th,
I thought it was May, but May's gone. Man on the ground, Fran, we can't hear you.
Man on the ground, Fran. Hey, Fran, but wasn't there also some previews of Edge of Fate, and wasn't there some hubbub
people
about
played it,
them
yeah.
or what?
Well, yeah, people did go hands-on with it and were allowed to release a little bit of footage, like all the creators that have stuck with it. So that already happened early June, and now you got this dev live stream, and there was also the Rite of 9, right? They changed the schedule with all the rotating dungeon stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So that, I think every dungeon is up now, and like, so all of that coming together, I think confuses folks, as well as the fact that it is no longer a 12-month expansion, but it's split into 2 6-month size expansions, and the next one is December, Star Wars themed. So try not to mix all that up, including the major updates in between and the no longer whatever the season is called.
Right.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
And they're doing
yeah.
There's if you want to read about it, there's a ton of like weapon changes, exotic armor changes. They're changing the way that melee works and glaives and all of that. So crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, it will be a big rebalancing across the board, right?
It's
We're
a
going
big
back to
one, yeah.
level
It's a
0 or 10 or all this stuff. So.
It's a big like fundamental change to the game, which is honestly that is what they need to do to continue having Destiny find new players and bring people back and have people be
Mm.
invested. So you got to do the foundation first,
You
and
know
then they
what?
can start doing this stuff.
They should just do what Elden Ring did. I'll jump into a roguelite Destiny. Just give me a big map with bosses.
Yeah.
Build it
it,
along.
man,
and then
it
make it
really
like
is interesting.
Make it like what Pokemon Home have a central hub. It was like, oh great, I got Galahorn in me fucking roguelite Destiny. Yep,
Well, just
send it
give us a
back.
version. You could give us a version of the old tower, and you could theme it around that, and then have like this kind of sentimental feel to it. I think you could have a banger setup with that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say the FromSoft formula was. I mean, they just don't miss. Part of it is
Well,
their storytelling and craft.
Do you
but
reckon
also
we're gonna
just-
get like? Do you reckon this is the next thing? Like Elden Ring has just done something that's just basically applied all their assets into a completely different game mode.
Yeah.
Do you
And
reckon
they
we're
even
gonna
broke a
see other
couple rules
games
to
follow
do-
suit?
It's
Yeah.
honestly, it's a really good thing for, like, if you are a successful studio, and I really appreciate successful studios doing this, handing their more junior devs or ones that they've been training for a while a game that they can make, that they're not having to like make assets from the ground up, and being like, here, go and get some experience actually making a game, the workflow, producing it, releasing it, like updating it, keeping up to date with feedback. Get some experience with that without like us banking our whole company on this game doing well.
True.
Like if it goes well, great. If it doesn't, it's not going to be the end of the company and you're not all getting fired.
Yeah.
And that's
that was,
actually
like,
why they did it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the back end point of what I was trying to make, though, as well. That was the formula that FromSoft has of they made this incredible single player experience that made, over $1 billion. Bungie is not in that position, but like it would be, in other words, wouldn't it be nice if Bungie just made a new whatever Destiny campaign driven or
Well,
marathon campaign
It makes you think.
that made the billion,
Yeah.
or even $500 million, that then allows them to experiment more with live
Well-
service. Instead, they're like all live service.
They're all live
and I think
service.
Yeah. And
that's
I
their
mean,
issue.
for
They're
how
always
many
running on the
years
treadmill.
was like Destiny community asking for spin-offs of whatever? Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like
Even
that could have been another revenue source rather than trying all these other new IPs. It's like you had everyone by the balls. You could have done some Destiny
The
spin-offs.
Destiny
that probably would have
community
done
is
well.
also really passionate and very loyal. So if they released like a spin-off game, I bet it would actually do quite well. Because Riot did a similar thing with they did a thing with League of Legends where they were working with indie studios to make single player like mini stories of the different characters and regions, and they didn't do very well. But I think that's because of the community difference. I think if it was Destiny, I think it would have done pretty well, to be honest. I think it would
Well,
have.
I mean, they were making that third person Destiny game, right? That Luke and Mark were working on, I think, at the time. But I don't know if we knew if it was live service or not, or it sounded
I'm
like
not
it was
sure.
something still in there. So
Probably.
to me, that's all I hear is like Bungie's whole deal is like, we make a bunch of money on live service stuff, so that's all we're gonna make, as opposed to FromSoft. It's interesting. Like they made I think over $1 billion on just Elden Ring alone. It's very easy to break out. Probably, I mean, I don't know if that game costs $100 million, but that would be a lot, actually.
I'd be surprised.
But
Yeah.
we're gonna, like, as an example, we're gonna talk about Firebreak. I don't know the budget from Remedy, right? Control, all that. That was a 40-person team. Like, it's practically an indie game. I mean, that's already a studio that barely is making profit as like relatively independent on their projects. So, in other words, FromSoft, what a nice model for them. And then, of course, they have the backing of Namco Bandai if they decide to publish and all that jazz.
And
Well,
no, shout out to
Firebreak's-
Nightreign, just because like it's when it first came out, the reviews were mixed. It's now very positive. So it went from this thing where people were like, and there was a lot of like growing pains of, I think, people expecting more of a Souls-like experience and it being very much not that. And then as people kind of realized what it was, and they're like, oh, it's like a FromSoft co-op party game to play with your friends and like, have these like 45-minute sessions. And now it's people are picking it up and really enjoying it.
Yeah, but
know
the
what's
depth, once
interesting?
you were comfortable with it and everybody started to get more comfortable, that's what changed for me. I was like, holy cow, wait a second. There's a lot of depth in the changing hub and everything, and the storytelling and
The
art. You're
storytelling
like,
is
holy crap.
actually incredible. Like I almost cried doing Revenant's story. It is like really intense. I was like, whoa, I was not expecting this.
Yeah.
There's always a lot more to their games than that you expect, like with the recent update, which I guess we could talk about a little bit. 'Cause it would
Oh
be
yeah,
pretty,
while
be
we're
pretty
talking about it,
fast.
yeah, sure.
Be pretty
Not a
fast.
bad idea to hit on real
So,
fast.
Nightreign had an update, and in their patch notes, they're like, balance some stuff, fix some
Not
bugs,
much.
have fun. And then they dropped hard mode, big mouth, grip draw, gaping face man.
Gaping jaw.
Poison T-Rex.
Yeah.
Adele, I
T-Rex.
believe is his name. They dropped the
Adele.
like hard
Monster
mode
Hunter.
of it. So yeah, if you played Monster Hunter, it's literally like dropping a tempered version or an AT version of a monster. So he has a couple new moves. He's always in his angry phase. He's always enraged, also very Monster Hunter. And then when you kill him, you get a different currency that hasn't been in the game until now. And you can use that currency to buy more urns, which are the things that you put relics in. So you know how you have like blue, blue, green, and then you have relics that are blue, relics that are green, relics that are yellow. They added more urns that will be different color combinations that you didn't have before. So there's a bit more freedom with your
More
build
build
stuff.
variety.
Yeah. They also added
Yeah,
more
like you really
relics
can't
too.
do some builds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they also added more relics for everyone and also for individual characters. You can also buy all of the outfits with this currency, and it is like a lot cheaper to use the currency than your other currency. And then they also, with this new currency, you can choose to use it to summon a shifting earth event, like the volcano,
Oh, really?
the city, the Scarlet Rot place, because currently we're like, when you after you defeat the final boss, it's like, when do I get shifting earth? It never happens. Well, now you have a way to do that. And the way that they've set this up is also literally Monster Hunter. This is an event for a week with this hard mode gaping jaw.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, it's a week.
Because they're going to take
event.
the other bosses.
I think so.
and
Yeah,
do
I
the
think
same.
what their plan is they're going to introduce the hard mode of each of them, and then after they're all done, they would probably just put them all up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so I gotta beat him.
Go to beat him.
So do you only
gonna
get the
do it.
currency if you beat the new Everdark boss here?
Yes.
You don't just get it if you... Because you know how you get some runes if you lose. So the
No, you
currency
get.
will have to be...
I might be playing some more Elden Ring after this.
Oh, you want to play
Yeah.
Elden Ring? Let's freaking go!
Yeah.
Bye,
Yeah,
Fran, get
I'm
on!
like-
Hurry up! All
I'm-
right, guys,
I'm
thanks
just-
for joining us.
Podcast
We'll
over.
see.
No, I'm waiting for Chrono Odyssey
Mm.
beta to go live at 3 p.m.
Oh, yeah,
which
yeah.
will be about 3 hours after podcast finishes. So
We could do a couple
4
runs,
hours after.
maybe?
So.
Do a couple
Well, a couple cheeky
She's so
runs, I
addicted.
reckon.
Yeah, a couple
runs.
cheeky runs.
Full on addicted.
No, it's so
That's cool, yeah, I
weird
mean-
because you wouldn't think that this game would make you want to put like 300 hours in it because it's like we have 8 bosses and like 8 classes, but
One
you're like,
map.
with one
So to
map,
speak.
and I'm like, well, actually, I want to make new builds and I want to try new things and I want to perfect my stuff and I don't.
There's a lot of and we're probably going to get to Firebreak in a second, but
Yes,
I
we
think
will, yeah.
Elden Ring is actually a mirror example of taking a franchise, right, Elden Ring, and then applying a different game mode. And Firebreak is in the Alan Wake universe and very similar. Like they are usually single player story modes, and then now it's like a horde shooter, co-op horde shooter, first person,
Yeah.
right? But if you have a look at all the things that Elden Ring does, and one of those points is like repeatability and how your gameplay loop has so much randomness to it. It is still fun to repeat and
Yeah.
difficulty, and it's just like From Software. I don't know what the fuck they do, but
I
they
don't
just
know.
seem to get all those things right from the get go all the time. It's
Yeah.
good design, it's good testing, and even like the rollout of these things, like it's almost perfect. Like we're starting to get the point of people like, okay, like I've beat all the bosses now. You know, I've played all the characters. Maybe I've unlocked all the characters. I'm just kind of bang, like okay, new boss, new difficulty.
New currency,
back
new
in.
yeah.
You know, even that is so well timed because you can kind of start feeling it when the lobbies go down. Like even I was trying to get some matches solo over a couple nights, and it was like just taking a little bit longer to get people, or really had to change what boss I was on because no one wanted to do that boss anymore. And then now it's like probably just going to surge again.
Yeah.
Especially with this boss. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's really fun. Oh, and he's really hard.
Yeah, he's
I don't know what
difficult.
he's doing.
And
He's got this
honestly,
purple
I don't
and
feel like
swirlings.
his weakness does. It doesn't seem to vomit like the first one. There's
I don't
definitely
think
some
he
different.
does.
There's
Yeah.
different mechanics. I don't even know if the poison
I wonder if people have
just
figured
straight
out
up does more damage.
what the poison
Yeah.
does to him. Yeah, I don't know. He definitely doesn't puke anymore, that's for sure. Speaking of Firebreak, would you like to speak about Firebreak? FBC Firebreak. Whoop whoop.
Yep.
Do you want to argue? I'll start being negative Nelly, and then you guys can talk about your wonderful 12 hours in heaven together.
Tell us what you thought, Watts.
So
Go on. What's your start?
I have about an hour in the game. I will say that I think the game is not very good. I think it is bare bones for an early access indie game, let alone a full release of a video game from. I know it's a smaller studio, but they've made games before. It's not their first ever game. It's super bare bones. So here's the things that obviously I'm not going to touch on, like how much content is in there because I haven't played enough to touch on that. I'm not going to touch on like enemy variety. Not going to touch on those things. But right away, the presentation feels kind of weird because you load up the game and there's nothing. There's no cutscene, there's no intro, there's no voice log. It's just, here's a lobby and here's your loadout and like a job thing. Whereas even just having a small, even if it's not animated, it's just like, an ink blot or something like that, being like, we are the Firebreakers of blah, 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 blah. We've been tasked with, something to kind of set up why I'm here, what I'm doing, who these people are, who am I, what's going on. So it wasn't any of that. I'm like, that's fine. And then they also don't have like a tutorial mission that they take you on. They just have little tips that pop up.
They've applied the Elden Ring formula to a game that's not Elden Ring, which is
Elden Ring had an intro cutscene. Nightreign had an intro cutscene and an intro mission that taught you the basics. Because I'm just thinking about like if I went in there and they taught me about the showers, right? Or like here's how to tell when you can fix something, or whether you can spray something, or whether like what you're using can do something.
Yeah.
Just something like really basic. Just here's a very basic intro to the game and your characters and the basics you need to know. So that also wasn't there. And then when we loaded up the game, I gotta say, shooting doesn't feel great. And I mean that in terms of like feedback, both when I'm taking damage and when enemies are taking damage, it just feels really off. And then the UI that they have is the top middle is like your shield and your stamina. Sorry, your team shield, your share shield and your stamina. And then the bottom left is your health. And I'm like, why would you do that? Why not just put like another bar up here so all of my stuff that I'm looking at for myself is in one place? That's really weird. And then it's kind of just the missions. I know that you can do clearance level 1 through 3, but clearance level 1 is like you can do that in like 5 minutes. I was like, what is going on? This is so strange. And then clearance level 2, you're like, well, in clearance level 1, you had to fix 3 fans. Well, now you fix 6 fans. Aren't you excited? So it's just it felt super unfinished or like very early access. If you said this was the beginning of early access, I'd go, okay, that kind of makes sense. But it just seems like there's not a lot of polish. There's not a lot of, and the characters, when I saw the trailers, it looked really goofy. And I know you can get like, you're shooting a teapot at them and there's some goofy looking weapons, but I would have loved some more personality from the characters to really like juice up those vibes of like, I'm just an average person being a firefighter, like trying to deal with these weird ass aliens, like something that kind of gave it a little bit of personality, a bit of seasoning.
Here's a weird thing. Here's the thing. I don't disagree with anything you've said. And I think, this happens a lot with like reviews, and it kind of happened with me when I reviewed Dune Awakening. Like, at the end of the day, it didn't grab me, and nearly everyone who loved it would agree with all my criticisms of it. Like, yeah, the combat's not the best, and I also said lots of great things about it too. But it's like we came to different conclusions, and I'm kind of in the boat with Firebreak. Is I actually agree with everything you've said. I've read all the Steam reviews, and I agree with most of them too. But I did end up having a fun time, and I think there was a reason for that, and I might just delay that for a second and address some of the other things you said.
Okay. Yep.
I think a lot of issues with it was a lack of tutorial and a lack of like basic mechanics of the game. This game's point of difference from other horde shooters like Darktide, like Left 4 Dead, is a really heavy reliance on these like status effects and teamwork. And it just doesn't tell you that.
Right.
And to give you an example, there's like an area that you're always on fire. So if you don't have someone with like the squirt kit, and I'm not yelling at him, squirt me, to like
He said
keep
worse,
you-
trust me.
to keep you
Catch
with
the-
like the moist
the vibe.
effect,
Yeah.
you just catch fire. And like that to me was the defining fun part of it, is having friends on other kits and working together, because it is a central mechanic in the entire game that it never talks about. And I even saw reviews and people didn't even realize that like when you were doing the repair things, like certain kits could do it instantly rather than having to play the mini game.
Yep.
And people were complaining about this mini game, which is literally like Helldivers. You know, Helldivers has the arrows. It's basically that, but it's only Q and E. But you really should never be doing that unless you're refilling ammo. Like your other teammates who have the right equipment. So, for example, if something needs to be like repaired, you need the monkey wrench. The guy with the monkey wrench just whacks it and it's done. But if you try to do it, you gotta tippy tap on a Q and E or a bumper to bumper.
Well, it makes me
fix
kind
it.
of sad because, like, imagine, right, if you load it into a tutorial and they could use this to inject some personality too, and they're like, "You see Jimmy over there? He's on fire. You know what we do with people that are on fire? We squirt on them."
Yeah.
And then they could have like this, you know, we pull out your squirt guns, shoot Jimmy. He needs to be on fire. Something to like, introduce you to.
Oh yeah.
And it
The
does
uniqueness of
actually
the game.
have a lot of personality there that just needed a little bit more polish, because it is well within the weird and wonderful like Alan Wake universe, where there's a bit of goofiness, there's a bit of like FBI horror too, but also just kind of weird like post-it notes monsters and
Yeah.
guys flying around in office chairs. So it's like, you know, it's got
Yeah.
the right setting, but they didn't quite finish it. So I think a lot of negative reviews off the bat, I think, do stem from no real explanation. I do think they went for we're not going to tell everything because everyone's going to love the game and they're going to work it out, and there'll be video tutorials on like, this effect does this. This is why you should do this. And it's like, it's just not that level of game or polish to get that level of like reception. I think you just needed to put in a tutorial really on how some of the things work. And even then, like, we still don't really understand some aspects of the game. But there were actually quite a fair few bits. I'm like, oh, there's multiple levels to this that the game just doesn't tell you about. And that's kind of what I enjoyed. Like, I was like, Fran, like when you wet them, you can wet the enemies and then I can shock them. But I think when there's multiple together and they actually get like multiple shocks, you go to the next stage of the effect and they get like blown up, which is like different again.
Yeah,
like
you get
it's almost
both
like having
status.
freeze and then frost, you know, or like slow and then the frost break. So that's the aspect of the game that I really liked. But I wouldn't also, I think a legitimate criticism is there are some games that are only fun in a team, and there are some games that are good to play solo. They're good to play solo matchmaking, and they're good to play in a team. And I really don't have any motivation to play this not in a team with comms, and it has no proximity chat. It has no team chat, which I just thought was so odd for a game that essentially is saying we're a horde shooter with more cooperative teamwork, and you're not going to give them prox chat.
Right.
Yeah. It's a little like Nightreign, that eventually you don't really need it, but why isn't it there?
Right.
You know, so I completely agree on the chat. Like it's like, and yeah, like imagine that, like I can play with someone and teach them, like Watts was getting at there. It's like, and yeah, like this is what I'm seeing a lot of. Watts, you know, you played for like an hour or so or less maybe, and it's not to take away from, you're right. You're like, the onboarding is terrible. It's so confused. What do you want me to do? Where's all that personality? I completely agree with that feedback, but I do think it's one of the biggest thing the game suffers from, combined with the fact that it's Alan Wake and Control and Remedy. Everybody had expectations, and then you go in and you're like, what am I doing? And so here's one big thing I would point out. Well, two things. One, which I can talk more about, if you filter Steam reviews by just over 1 hour, it's mostly positive. But otherwise, it's mixed and disastrous. And I think it gets painted as a game that is like disastrous. Open Critic is, you can kind of parse through there too. There's a lot of truly mixed reviews there though. So it is mixed. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see the people who actually, basically you have to plow through and figure stuff out and have people explain stuff to you. And you get to the point where you're like, okay, I see what's going on. And like Myelin was saying, you play a level and you think you literally are just going to be repairing fans. And like, that's one of those jobs there's 5 levels, but within each level, there's 3 zones usually. And that's where there's some variety. And you get a little bit mixed up too when you get into, there's like corrupted items and rules. But the biggest thing I would point out, not to get sidetracked here, is it's a job game. The more I play it, it is so focused on the jobs and stuff. And I agree, the combat feel, like, I was surprised by.
Yeah, yeah.
The gun upgrades, they feel a little better, but like there's actually a networking feel and general gun feel. Something is just off there.
Yeah.
There's just coming to like scratch your eyes out, and you're just like popping off bullets to get them off of you. And that's where like
Yep.
what Myelin was saying, suddenly you realize it becomes very satisfying. And I had the same impression when I played the early hands-on from the April build. I was like, I just want to use my statuses and stuff because it is nuking them. Once you figure that out, it feels very satisfying. But the point that I would put out there is you start to realize you're mostly just trying to get them off your back so you can do the jobs. What I would say to you is, if you're interested in this game, if you're not interested in some power wash simulator vibes, and I mean this sincerely, and job type stuff, that's why I'm like, yeah, like they didn't do a good job of marketing and explaining. I'd love to hear you respond to this after I finish my own, but I just started to realize, I'm like, yeah, man, it's about taking this furnace over to this thing, and they're just trying to scratch your eyes out. So of course there's combat, and you have that, but it seems like it's more focused on doing those jobs, doing it quickly, and then, yeah, what happens? How do you shut down a huge wave of enemies with your skills and perks when you put it up on higher levels? So I went in and played the 12 hours on the day that we played together for like 10 hours or 8 hours, whatever. But then I came back the next day and I did totally just random match made at higher levels. And I was like, oh, they know what they're doing now. Like for the most part, sometimes they didn't. And I wish I had prox chat. But overall, I was like, okay, I'm kind of chilling, just getting my stuff. I would have a lot more to say on like the grind, like do the perks feel really useful, etc. But within that, it's okay. There's something when you're doing the jobs and building your kits out and stuff. I think that's where the fun can be at if you're interested, but it does have all the problems that you mentioned.
I think this is probably the biggest issue. Like I think the early bad reviews is obviously and objectively, I think you could say an issue with onboarding. If you're getting mostly negative reviews for under 2 hours, that's an issue with onboarding, right?
Right.
It's an issue with onboarding, and it's an issue with not delivering the gameplay loop early enough that's satisfying.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
also an issue with it just
That.
not feeling good straight away, right? And
Yeah.
it actually suffers from all those things. It has an issue with onboarding the tutorial. It has an issue with kind of
Doesn't feel good immediately because you have all
it doesn't feel good
crap.
immediately, and the reason for that is you don't unlock your second and third ability until like how many hours in? I don't know. Like it's a few pages into the battle pass.
It is, yeah.
Which
And
we should
that's
give
heightened
credit
by
for
other-
is, there's no microtransactions. It's a Helldivers style battle pass. I will get that in a second. And
I
then
was just gonna say that point was comboed with the fact that people were confused at like not even understanding what to do, but continue.
And then the last thing I think is this idea of polish. And it is hard to try nail down why it doesn't feel as good as other games in the genre, because I think we should compare it to things like Darktide and Helldivers. There are two, I guess, co-op horde shooters. And if you play Helldivers, like the moment-to-moment gameplay feels good. And the reasons for that, it's the gun sound effects, it's the effects and the like bombasticness of it, it's the enemy types. And I think when you put all those things together, like you don't have anywhere near that level of polish for like the gun effects and the feel of a gun. And I think
The
it's not
combat
just
feel,
the way it's not the way it looks. It's its special effects and how it interacts with the enemy. Like if you got a shotgun, do they get blown in half? Do they get ragdolled? You know, these are the things that Helldivers did really, really good. Like I've got a nuke, this thing opens up the sky, like, you know, bits of enemies go flying everywhere. Or I shoot
You
off.
go flying in that game.
You go
It's
fly. You know what I mean? Like, and I think
technically wildly impressive.
yeah, it misses. It's very basic in that sense that the special effects, the sound effects, the overall like feel of wielding a weapon or abilities is not as good as other games in that genre. Even something like Dark Tide, even though they had a pretty similarly bad launch, is in a good space now, but it looks better and it feels better, and some of that polish is just kind of there to keep you going a little bit longer until you unlock more of the game.
Yeah, like even the tools
Overall,
you use,
though,
like to
I think you can have a good time with friends, and this is the thing. I think if you think about it from this point of view with the teamwork, and you all pick a different kit, and you have two other friends, I don't know if I recommend it for the price points, but if you do have Game Pass, I think you can have a fun Friday night. I really do. I think you can have a
yeah, you
fun
gotta
Friday night. And I heard some reviews. People like, you know, sometimes I don't want to play a Nightreign because I can't fucking talk about me week and how shitty it's
yeah.
been. And sometimes I just need a game that we can be in together and maybe turn off. And I think this game could be that. But I probably wouldn't pay
Yeah.
$40.
It yeah, it's really interesting on the like they intentionally wanted it to be more accessible. So that's why they have so much mode settings. Like just jump in, maybe do the job like really easily. And like literally, it's funny once we start dialed it back right now, and you're like, there's nobody here. You started to realize that you needed a certain amount of intensity depending on your knowledge level as well as skill level. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that goal. But I did want to hear your thought on that, Myelin. Do you feel like that the job part of it and working together, obviously you're fighting off enemies, but the polish is more on like doing the job of like spraying down a bunch of foam and cutting your way through
Look,
and exploding
they
it versus fighting? Or are you like, no, like it is a combat driven game?
so I'm just thinking like what does Helldivers do? And what do they do to increase the repeatability, right? Like I think that's probably what you're talking about here is like after you've done these jobs so many times, it does feel a bit repetitive. And I don't know if the sandbox is like interesting enough, like Helldivers. Like Helldivers didn't have more planets, more like people talk about not having enough content. Like Helldivers
Mhm.
is pretty much just open environments for every planet. Like they looked a little bit different, but like the replayability was like getting cool new weapons and using them in
Yeah.
interesting ways on the enemies. And I think if you lack that in something like Firebreak, then you are just doing jobs.
Yeah.
And other games usually give you other objectives that aren't tied to your class. So they've kind of gone very niche here. Like it is a job game with your class that will excel at a certain job. But I think they could layer that as well. And I think the corruption does that a little bit. So you have these corrupted
Mm.
objects that change the way the game plays, like low gravity, everyone gets slowed, things like that. Definitely, you know, balance it out to be a bit more, you know, different. But I
Yeah.
think that mission where you got to put the barrels into the
Oh yeah.
like I think that's a better example of you have some jobs but you also need like an objective, like a hold the
Yeah.
point where you actually have to hold a point. Like I don't think there's any areas where you just have to fight, which is kind of like the most basic thing in horde modes is like you usually have one section like, all right, the ghost is hacking the door, just hold the point, you know. It's like
Yeah. Which
I
is
think it
interesting,
could use
but
some of those things as well as all the jobs you do.
I, it's funny hearing you reflect on it because i- it's so like it needs the combat, I guess is what I hear from that. And I'm like, I totally agree with you. And I started to think, I'm like, I guess that's why I landed on it's more of a job game. But I do truly think that's what they were like kind of focused on is the interesting part. But the combat feels very like it's just not there, but it needs it, of course. That's what Helldivers had. I would actually argue Helldivers is flipped. It is so combat driven, and occasionally you
Yes.
go into a hive and explode a few things,
Yes.
but overall, it's
It
all
is,
about the combat.
exactly,
And like, I don't
exactly.
think this
Yeah.
needs that, is what I'm saying. It needs to feel better with the combat. And frankly, I think there's something going on with the networking. Like, right when you shoot an enemy and the speed at which it reacts, but then, of course, you get on top of that the animations and what you can do to like take down an enemy. Doesn't feel like when I give them like a wet status or shock status is not like it's not visually exciting. And in fact, I'm
It's not.
struggling even. I got the level 3 shock bullets by the way last night, and I was like using them and I was like, these are not building up that fast. So like that is all problematic, but also the visuals are no longer there. Maybe they were, I say no longer because like in the April build, it was insane when you shock stuff. The entire room was white lightning. It was
Oh.
actually like epileptic, like scary. Like
So I think
this
they
is
toned it
insane.
back too much because
Yeah,
I really
they did.
don't think you can see the impact of your abilities, and that's another thing, right? Like another great comparison to Helldive is like you put on an ability or a bomb, like you've used it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you play this game like, is it working? Did I shock them? Are they
Yeah.
shocked?
They
You know?
and yeah, to round it all out, I think that is, let's just say the game is a 6 or a 7 for most.
I
And
think
you're gonna
so.
go either way on
With
it.
friends.
That's fine.
With the caveat
Yeah.
with friends. Yeah.
Yes, you of course. Yeah, you have to, and you have to get past that first, like honestly, couple hours, I think, and
Onboarding.
understand. Yeah. But I was gonna say that, yeah, all that stuff that works well, I think we just need to see more of it. I would like that they're doing a December update. Let's see if they can. I'd love them to not drop it, in other words, and say, can they polish this stuff up, make it feel a bit better? Whether or not it's a success, I don't care about so much as like, I would love to see Remedy complete the job, if that makes sense.
I agree. I like yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, a lot of people complained about them only being like 5 levels. And I do think that is a bit light. But I also come back to the idea of like Helldivers. Like Helldivers didn't have, the levels were hardly different. It's like it's more about repeatability than it is like the amount of levels. And I think what we're talking about here is like doing the similar tasks every time is not very fun to repeat. So it's not so much of an issue of like 5 levels. It's like I feel like I've seen everything.
Very
And
quickly, you
it's
feel
getting
like you've
boring
seen everything. Yeah.
and it's repeating.
Yeah. And you have to, I believe you have to play, if you don't do quick play, in other words, and land on, let's say, there's a rocket launch, just like Helldivers. You actually do control the point, I was going to say, Myelin. That stuff is in there, but it's not as often as you think,
Yeah.
like escaping on the elevator. But anyway, you launch a rocket, kind of like a nuke. And actually, visually, it's like incredible. I mean, I'm on a PC, and it has all of that Northlight engine magic from them. Like that's what you expected more of. Like
Yeah,
when
I
I picked
guess
those portable furnaces up, right, and it's refracting the air, like, and you put it in this frostbite anomaly, and I'm like, all the lights refracting. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is cool. But then the enemies come at you like, you know, and it's like 50,000 of them, and then you're just shooting them, and they go, phew, they like kind of pop like balloons, and you're like, it just. But then it even feels like weird there. So anyway, I would just like to see more of what's good. It could be a lot of fun. Like I actually went back to that foam one, and I started using my squirt gun and treated it properly. I didn't realize you can really hose through all that stuff. It just takes forever.
I think it's the thing that's I've played a lot of these kinds of games, and I've never had one of them not be fun, like right off the bat. Like they're all actually quite exciting, you know, like
It's the
I played GTFO for like 4 hours, and right away we're like, it's really exciting. There's a lot going on. We're like panicking. It's like, oh God, was this alien coming? You're trapped in the corner. Oh my God, he grabbed me. And it's like chaos and fun and exciting. And this was very like it's like Fran said, it's literally you're going to your 9 to 5, but they made it like the most boring 9 to 5 you possibly can. When it would have been nice if they could have done a little bit, maybe a bit more exposition of like, you're a fighter fighting these like weird alien things, and you're like, it's just I just found it a little boring, and that's what makes me put down a game faster than anything. It can be janky, it can be like it could be laggy, it could be all sorts of things, but if it's boring, I'm like, get me the hell out of here. Just get me in.
Yeah, my constructive feedback was actually that. I was like, they needed to give you the Metroid style of like full kits. Fine, if it's even AI at your side, they should have given you a full kit mission with a bunch of perks and showed you the power. Because I actually still have some of that question of like the feeling of when like I don't have my level 3 tool yet, right? And I've played like 12+ hours, and I think if they gave you that up front, some of your power, but pointed you to the good jobs, let's say, or something, and just a little tutorial with that, you'd be like, you'd understand what the good stuff is.
For, what you're working
and you're
funny
right,
how
though. Instead, you're like, I'm just repairing this fan, QE. And I'm like, and as Myelin saying, it's like, wow, that's not really how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Which is not your fault.
By the way, you can just go back and forth doing this on the QE, not actually hit the right ones, and it's just as fast. So, hot tip.
Well, you should fail occasionally, but yeah, there's a small penalty. But yeah, that's part of it too. None of it is clear.
Yeah. I was very perplexed.
I want to play a bit more.
Like I've never I have not come away from a game being just like perplexed and confused and like I was legitimately a little flabbergasted for like probably a solid 24
Yeah.
hours coming away from it. Like this feels like this is like a two people made this game and they put it into early access on
Oh, it's
Steam and
not that
like
bad.
prayed.
It's
It's crazy.
it's not that. It's I don't think. I think the first
It's
impression is like
crazy.
that. Once you play all these other levels, it didn't help that all they showed was paper chase and the fan fixing in all their trailers. Um, But again, I've got no skin in the game on this. Like, again, for me, actually, I might do a review of it in full, but it's definitely in that sort of 6 and 7 range for me. In the same way, I always talk about
Yeah.
Anthem, and I'm like, look, I understand there are things I absolutely disliked in that game, but some of it, I was like, this is pretty neat, and I wish they developed
I
those
think
things.
the hard thing for recommending this is the price point and what else you can get for it. Even in
Yes.
different
Yep.
genres, it's like, well, you can get Nightreign for the same price. And if you
And
don't like that, you can get Darktide, I think, for cheaper and it's in a better spot. Or you can get
yeah,
Helldive, which is
if you
probably in a
look
great spot right now as well. So it's like,
yeah. If you look at things in the same genre, you're like, well, you can probably pay less or the same amount for a substantially more enjoyable
yeah,
experience.
it is on
So,
Game Pass.
Uh,
But I think it's similar to
Game
Darktide.
Pass
Darktide
Ultimate
didn't,
in PC.
oh, is it? Yeah,
To
Darktide
be
didn't
clear,
launch
yeah.
well either, and they kept supporting it, and it's in a great
yeah.
spot now. But it did lose a lot of its momentum as well. And we haven't
Mhm.
really had, we had Back for Blood, which flopped. Darktide launched pretty poorly, but it's in a good spot now. Like, I haven't
Mhm.
had one of these games that have just kind of launched with great momentum and like maintain this momentum either.
I think
So,
GTFO was
Yeah.
actually one of the better ones on launch. I think it was about an 8
and
when it came out.
that's quite a niche audience too now. Like that
Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
They're making a new game too,
Came
actually.
out in 2021.
Wolves.
So, yeah, if they were to make
Hmm.
a new one, maybe
Yeah.
hopefully they could
They're making a
bring
new
it.
one called.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think it's called Wolves Den or something.
Oh,
oh, are
right.
they
Yeah,
is
is it
that
those
they make
guys?
GTFO? I
I
thought
think
that was a
so.
Den
brand
of
new
Yeah,
team.
Wolves. Yeah, Den of Wolves. Yep.
Den of
Um,
Wolves.
but anyway, maybe to finish up on Firebreak, I do forget. I was like, matchmaking actually is going pretty fast still. And given the feedback, I was surprised. But I think because it's on PC Game Pass and Ultimate Game Pass, as well as PlayStation Plus, I believe that's all right. Yeah, maybe people are hopping in to try it. So I think again, if you're just interested in, at least from my perspective, the job type stuff, learning past stuff, and that stuff can be fun. I want it to be more rewarding with what you're getting from it. And honestly, one of my biggest gripes in the game outside of all this that I didn't get a chance to mention is I
Mm.
just don't get searching for there's a health shed and an ammo shed that is
Mm.
integral to staying alive and replenishing. And you have to like search for them every map and you got to ping them. And it's so tedious every time I play now. I'm like, I keep saying like this is so part of the gameplay. You don't want to die when you're searching for them. And then I'm like pulling my hair out. Why
Yeah,
am I still searching for the healing shed? It's killing me inside. So I personally I hope they fix that, but
I don't mind
stuff
that.
like that is tedious.
I think that is the main reason to keep playing is just learn all the spawns of everything and the map. So you do it quick. Like I feel like that's the part
And
of the
work as a
knowledge they
team. Yeah,
want. It's like, all right, I'm gonna check spawn 1, you check spawn 2, you check spawn 3, we'll find where those
but
sheds are.
but in other words, I get why they did it and you only have so many lives, but it's like we're just trying to do the job and stay alive and they add that element. But I personally don't find it fun to find the ammo shed or see what I'm saying? That's I'm like I'd rather that not have to be a focus every
I
time,
hear.
but
I hear.
because it is dragging me down. Every time I hop in to just have some fun, I'm pulling my hair out. Without that, I could focus more on maybe the parts I like. But anyway, they are releasing free content. I assumed
They
there
are,
was
yep.
still their plan later for free. I hope they have kind of a message to the community in the next few weeks. They're pretty good about like, hey, we hear you, but I hope it's not, ooh, this didn't land how we want it to, and it's dead in the water. I really hope it's not that, because kind of like we talked with Nightreign, even like their networking and stuff just left stuff to be desires and still does, right? We can't all gather at the round table and be together or things with matchmaking we would want to be better. But it's really good they're getting that experience. So I hope they kind of stick with it to that end.
I mean, here's the thing, like I know it's got a lot of negative press, but it's got 780 positive reviews on Steam and 412 negative reviews. And there are a bunch of negative reviews of people who are just like, I want to like this game. There's something here, but it just needs more time to cook.
Yep.
And I'll come
Yeah.
Yeah.
back and review this and change it later if they cook more.
Yep.
So I think it's enough to justify that. I hope they keep supporting it
I
and
hope
they
so
can
too,
get it to
yeah.
a better spot.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Do we want to jump into Steam Nextfest?
I played so many
Probably
games.
should.
I played
Drop
so
some
many games.
bangers on the folks at home.
Well, we can drop many bangers.
If you are
Oh, yeah, maybe
unfamiliar, yes, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I also would love to quickly comment on DK Bananza at the end, maybe after this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
So if you're unfamiliar of what Steam Next Fest is, it's something that they do, I believe it's every quarter now, where it's a time where a bunch of devs just release their demos all at once, and it's like runs for a
demos.
week, and it's just everyone targets Steam Next Fest to drop their demos so they can, it's easy to find because you can literally click
And
Steam
it's like
Next
a
Fest
lot.
and just, it's a lot.
It's like
I think they said,
thousands.
yes, yes,
Because I thought it would be like maybe 100. I was like, I'm gonna play as many as I can.
No.
And then I looked at like how many were included in Nextfest. I was like, I don't know if it was just a genre. One of the genres was like 1,000 in that genre. I'm
It's
like, oh, okay.
so many. So you're gonna find something that you like in here. And both me and Myelin, we played through some demos, and we're gonna tell you
I
some
got
of the good ones.
great recommendations for you. Do you want to start with that top recommendations or save it for the very end?
Oh.
You said yeah, so we'll go.
Yeah.
My top recommendation
Woo!
is Dispatch.
Dispatch, baby. And guess who has it on their fantasy critic list? It's me. I win. Thank you. Anyway.
The writing is so good.
It's
It
so
looks like
good.
a high level animation you would watch on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Brought to you by people that made The Walking Dead, The Wolf Among Us, Tales from Borderlands.
Yep.
You basically are a superhero dispatch officer, and you have a ragtag team of degenerate superheroes that you support from the office. And you essentially get given these call outs, and you've got to try send the right superhero to the right job.
Yeah.
And that's the game.
Yeah.
And it's very witty writing. It's a very good experience.
So imagine
so
you're
good.
like, I guess like you're a dispatcher, right? You've got your PC in front of you. You've got calls coming in. There's a cat stuck up a tree. There's a fire going on over here. And you're tasked to look at what the job requires. And it can require like mobility, intelligence, charisma. But they don't tell you what it requires ahead of time. You just have to
guess
like
by the keywords.
Yeah, you got to guess. So you're like, okay, so that they're wanting us to like infiltrate a bank and like apprehend a criminal who's trying to rob somewhere. So you're like, okay, they might want to be, fast. Maybe you want someone with portals who can portal in and out of there. And you're trying to match the ragtag of, really, they're kind of villains, but they're superheroes. Put them on the right job. And if they have the right stats, and all of the superheroes do have stats like mobility and charisma and intelligence, if they have the right stats, they end up doing a successful job. And that's the game, but within it, there's like voice lines while you're actually looking at the screen, which is really funny. You have like Myelin said, really well done animated cutscenes with incredible voice acting and incredible writing. And just right away from opening up the demo, I was already laughing. It's incredible.
Oh, straight up.
It's really funny.
I was cackling
really
like
good
through most of the opening scenes with
It's really good.
Well, I'll give
awesome.
you an example of one line. As you enter the office and you meet some of the crew there, you get a hug, and you didn't know who this person was, and he goes, "It's a hug, not a hand job, dickhead," or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, that's so good."
And then in one of the trailers is another one where, you fall over and you drop Twinkies on the floor, and the little bat hero guy comes along and he says, "You gonna eat those Twinks?" And you're like,
Which, by the way, is
that's
Moist
not what it's
Critical
called.
from YouTube.
Oh, man.
Alana Pierce is in it as well.
Yeah,
She voices one of the characters. Yeah. She's the devil lady.
demon
Oh,
lady.
this is
the devil lady.
Alana was posted. Oh, okay. It's all making sense to me now.
It's
that's
really,
awesome.
really good.
You might still be added. Some of these things, even though Nextfest is over, some of them you can still download.
The demo is still available
I'm looking at it right now.
on Steam. So if you are interested, just go play it. It's a pretty short demo. So
yeah, it won't take you long to get through. Maybe half an hour.
Super short.
Wish I had a Steam Deck.
Yeah, if that. It's really good.
Steam,
Add it to your wish list. Wish lists help devs a lot.
Yeah.
Was that your top pick, Wads, or did you have another top pick?
I have another top pick. Do you want to guess what it is?
Oh yeah, I can guess. I know what it is.
I was
No,
gonna
I'm
guess
not
the
human.
Ninja
Yep.
Gaiden.
This
What?
is good.
No, I'm
Which game?
not a human.
Oh.
So this was put on my radar probably about a year ago now. And it was put on my radar because I heard that it was like creepy Papers, Please. And I was like, oh,
Yep.
Oh.
okay. And the premise is that there's these visitors that have started happening and they kill people. But there's also this other event happening where the sun in the daytime is so hot that you literally can't be outside. You will burn, you will die. So people are always looking for shelter to go into because you can't just be out there when the sun does rise. So people are coming to your door and there's this whole thing of like, you have to let people in because they're going to die. So your job is to figure out if these people are humans or if they are visitors. And in the Papers, Please way, you're in Papers, Please, you'd look at their documents. And here you're talking to them, you're looking at their teeth, their hands, their eyes to try and figure out if they are visitors.
Yeah, so like each day you might get like a news report about what to check. So like the first day you get they've got perfectly white teeth, right? So then you're checking everyone's teeth, but you've only got so many actions to use every day. So if you let too many people in, you might not be able to check everyone and then you're going to die. But it is very atmospheric. It is very creepy. Yeah, similar to Paper Please. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I had a really good time in it.
Yeah, it's
brutal.
really, really cool. It's cool and creepy, and it is a little spooky, but it's not like a scary game. It's just very unnerving, right? There's a lot of weird
Creepy is
stuff
a
going
better
on.
word for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
not scary, just creepy.
It
Yeah.
is creepy. I'm so excited for the full release of that game. It's also, I think the demo is still available. It is, and the demo is sitting at overwhelmingly positive on Steam. So everyone who has played this demo is pretty much loving it. 97% of people are loving it.
Yeah, it's great. I played a bunch. There is like a million roguelites. I played maybe 5
There's a lot.
roguelites.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my top pick
Mm.
was one called Moros Protocol.
Okay.
And it just had a great vibe to it. It was like I'm going to bring it up on stream if you're watching.
Yeah.
But it is like almost like a pixelated Doom, like a pixel Doom kind of vibe, but a roguelite. Very, very, roguelites you want to hit the I want more, like give me more, I want to do one more run. And out of all the ones I played, this one I just kept wanting to do one more run. I want to get to the boss. I don't think it does anything like crazy different from roguelites. It just is a really good looking game. Really nice art style. It's got bosses in it. Follows a pretty roguelite, similar pace. And you make builds as you go. I had a really good time with it. Moros Protocol.
Mm-hmm.
Will recommend.
That one looked good.
It looked good.
I
It
like
was
the
fun.
art style a lot.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I'll give a shout out to a game that I think maybe a lot of people maybe don't know about, and also it wouldn't be on my radar, but I thought it was really good. This is called Eric Scholm. ERIKSHOLM. This is an exploration like stealth game, which normally I'd be like, yeah, I'm not really interested in that. But my God, the art in this game is insane.
Can you spell it again for me?
ERIKSHOLM.
Shalom.
The cutscenes are some of
Got
the
it.
like best facial animations I've seen. It's insane. The voice acting is really good, and then the actual world itself is just gorgeous. So pretty.
Yeah, I did not see this. Right. So what kind of game is it?
So it's an isometric, narrative-driven stealth game. And so
Okay.
you do have that isometric look, but you can zoom in, you
Right.
can zoom out. You can also, you're not just locked on your character. You can actually move the camera all around like the area that
Right.
you're in. So you might hear an NPC having a conversation. You can move your camera and like go and zoom in on them and see what they're doing, which is really cool. And it's set in, I believe, like some kind of Nordic country, but it's like the 1900s. Lots of factories, all families are working in the factories, and there's a big push and pull of authority versus the common folk. And yeah, it really impressed me in so many ways. It's just the storytelling was incredible. The gameplay, I normally am not a huge fan of stealth gameplay, but I thought they introduced it to you really well. The way that they kind of onboarded you into this experience and letting you know what to look for and when to run and when to crouch and what kind of things you can creep through. That was done really well. They let you understand right away what you're supposed to be doing. And then also the save points when you mess up, because this is another thing that can make me go, nope, I'm putting it down, is if you're playing a stealth game and then you get seen and you get sent back like 45 minutes. And I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
This one does not do that. They have very reasonable save points where if you do mess up, you're not severely punished for it. So,
Yeah, cool.
just a super cool game. Super, super cool. Very, very, very cool.
Nice.
It was very, very good.
Eric Sholm, all one
It
word.
just looked good.
Eric Sholm.
Eric Sholm. Go on, Fran. You haven't made a suggestion yet. What you got?
Well, I didn't get to participate in Nextfest, but I wanted to shout out. It came out this week. I didn't get to like play it, but had some friends that indies a lot. It's called Cast and Chill. I'm always a fan of folks that try for the cozy games, because deep in my heart, I wish I sort of did that sometimes. I always enjoy it when I make time for it, but there's too many other good games out there. That being said, it's called Cast and Chill. For all you other fishing fans, I'm always a fan of a good fishing like mini game in any game, but also full-on games. This one's called Cast and Chill. The art is really pretty.
So it looks like a 2D
getting,
pixel. Almost looks like Dave the Diver a lot.
Yeah, although it visually, I guess you could say that. But yeah, a lot of like
really cool
or 16-bit style, just really pretty for fishing, like painterly. But it's a cozy game, and it's about fishing, and it's getting a lot of positive reviews. It just came out this week. Cast and Chill. Great
Man,
game.
I'm gonna have to put that on my Steam Deck. I love those kind of games.
Fishing.
Well, because I loved Dredge. The vibes in Dredge were immaculate, but that game's too scary for me. I can't play it. It's legitimately terrifying. I tried because I loved it so much. I tried so many times, and I was like, nope, I can't do it. It's giving me chest pain. I can't do it. So that is like, it's right up my alley.
Played another roguelite, and this is the only two roguelites I really liked. Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault. This actually has mixed reviews because Moonlighter 1 was incredibly well received. And people feel like this one was maybe dumbed down, I think is maybe the general impression I got from it. But the only other roguelite that I wanted to complete the whole demo for. And the twist on this is when you complete like a run, you're collecting relics and then you're bringing them back to a shop to sell. And then I guess that's like Dave the Diver, right? Then you got to manage this shop. You got to clean up after people. You got to bargain with people to like get a better price. And there's also like mechanics in the shop that can increase the price of items. So you get so many basic abilities that you use to increase the price of the items you have in this shop. And so you're just trying to like run this shop and also do like I actually found the combat quite enjoyable. It was very slow combat compared to something like Hades, where it's more, can I fill the room with a certain combination of like perks with, fireballs or something. This is more like, I can't spam attack. I've got to like attack, dodge, attack. Like I felt I was playing almost like Dark Soulsy stuff in a roguelite. I quite liked it a lot. So that's called Moonlighter 2.
Yeah.
I think I'll just call out one more because I'm trying to mix the genres up.
Yep.
And that is Dead as Disco.
Oh, yep. That's a good one. That's on my
Dead
list.
as Disco. Yep. So this is another one that is overwhelmingly positive. This is martial arts mixed with hitting enemies on the beat. They call it beat kundo, is what they call the martial arts.
Was it? It almost feels like seafood mixed with what was that other really good rhythm beater?
Fran
like
played
Hi-Fi
it.
Rush or like
Sifu Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sifu Rush. Yep.
So yeah, the idea of this game is you are playing a game that is like a beat 'em up, 3D beat 'em up, and you're punching along to the beat. Now the crazy thing is, so they
it's
have
like Double Dragon.
Yeah.
to the beat.
Yeah. They have their own music that you can do, but you can also import
wow.
your own music.
Yeah.
So you can import any song you
really?
want, and you can play these levels punching to your own favorite music, which
man.
is really, really cool.
That
A
is
lot
really
of people
cool.
were saying it's like Arkham games and
a
Sifu
lost art.
combined with custom
Yeah.
songs where you have to hit on the beat. So people are saying it's the most satisfying rhythm game they've ever played. It's yeah, it's really, really, really good.
Neato.
Lots of
A
fun.
lot of fun.
Demo is
Really,
still
really
available.
short demo too. If you want to just give it a crack, like take you 15 minutes, I reckon 20 minutes. It goes pretty quick. Good though.
Yep.
It goes for the length of a song, pretty much.
Yeah.
Mate.
Yeah. Yeah, give it a
Oh,
go.
that's
Really,
neat.
people are having a lot of fun. People like, man, it hooked me right away, and now I'm just like importing all my music into there and keep going.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, just quickly, I played Baby Steps,
You did play
which
Baby
is
Steps?
like,
Did you talk about that last week or no?
or
We did
maybe
talk
I
about some
actually maybe
Nextfest
that
last
did.
week.
Yeah, maybe that
Oh,
did come
maybe you
out. It's
did.
about Holston. Yeah.
You can say I'm just was saying.
No.
It
Hmm.
sounded familiar. I was like, wait a sec. We
No,
did
that was
Nextfest
only,
last week somewhat.
you
but-
know, the other ones actually, I will mention Pioneer because I know it's got a lot of kind of interest, and I just had an awful time with it. The reason it has interest is it is similar to the Cube, which also has a lot of interest at the moment, which is an MMO RPG. So everyone kind of like Destiny person's like, a first person MMO RPG, you have my interest. And this was similar, right? MMO RPG. There was a demo available. I crashed 2 or 3 times in the demo. I did a full reinstall because I really wanted to give it a shot. It does that thing where you don't get into your server until you complete the tutorial. So the tutorial's fine, but as soon as you try to get into your server, it's just like, you can't get in. There's too much population. The servers were dying. Then it bugged out. Then I had to reinstall. I eventually did get in, but I just don't think they did a very good job with a demo. You know how I feel like a demo should chuck you in 2 hours after onboarding? Like when you're kind of in the thick of the action, you can kind of get an understanding of the gameplay loop. This had just like an hour of meeting all the NPCs in the village, just chatting to everyone, and not enough like, can I go see the open world now? And then they have like raids, which are pretty much Destiny strike missions that you can match made for, but I couldn't find matches for, and had to change the region I was in to try and get a match. And so it was not really a well delivered demo, and my hype substantially went down. So if you see anything about it, just maybe give it some more time.
Give it a little bit.
Little bit time. Yeah.
This is the thing, guys. Like, if you ever feel like you are burnt out on the game you're currently playing, or you can't find anything, there are literally thousands of demos dropping damn near every day on Steam. And it's for every genre. So, and you could get to try all of these for free. This is what's really nice about like PC gaming, is you do have access to so many small studio indie AA games that a lot of the time they can't get the funding to make it onto console because it is a larger barrier to entry. But yeah, there's so many. Just get out there, give them a try. You will find something that you love, I promise you.
Okay, I know I said I was done, but this is my last recommendation
Here we
because
go.
this is also
No.
fun. Ball X Pit. Now that I'm thinking, I told you there was a lot of roguelites, and these are just my top list of roguelites. I play a lot of other ones that are just not good.
That looks neat.
This is Ball X Pit. Yeah, this is another great like roguelite. One more. One half of the mode is ricocheting balls off the walls, off surfaces, and you'll get rogue things that like, your ball freezes, your ball does bleed damage. If you hit them from behind, it does X critical damage, right? So you got to do that. And then the other part, I don't know if this demo is going to show it, but you go back to like your base building, and the mechanic for building your base is you have the area where you put like farmland down, you put buildings to build that give you this is like your permanent upgrades for your runs. But then the little people are like balls. So you aim them and they ping pong off your area and that's how they collect the wheats and they drop the wood. So if you
Yeah.
don't get the right angle, you don't end up building the buildings. So you got to rearrange your
Amazing.
base in a way to pinball the workers off them to get the most resources each run and the most
Yeah.
like permanent buffs. And it is a pretty chill
That's pretty cool.
roguelite. That you could waste hours on this. You really can. It's called
That's
Ball
really
X
cool.
It. Yeah.
Dude, I had so many that I wanted to play, and I had a really good mixture of genres this time around. I had like survival horror that are very like OG Resident Evil. I had such a huge mixture, but I wasn't able to play
Too
a
many
little quite a lot of them that I wanted to play actually. But that's partly because I was in the cat ER for 2 days.
Mm.
She's fine now. Don't panic, everybody. She's fine. But I was
That's
there for
good.
like 2 days. So
And we played Alters too. I mean, what's played Alters?
we did. I'm only 2
Alters-
hours in. So maybe
It's
I'll
very
talk
good.
about it when I'm further in. But all I can say is, God damn, that's a good looking game. I loaded it up. I'm like, what is going on? It runs at
It's a
like
good-looking
130 FPS. Everything maxed. Beautiful game. It looks really, really good.
It is
I'm getting nothing but rave reviews. Huh?
it's
Mhm.
what do you call it? Like a like Fallout Shelter. It's like
Yeah, so it's
there's
like
there's a 2D shelter building part and
Yes.
base management combined with
They
a survival exploration, I guess, like
Mhm.
3D survival exploration.
they describe it as that blend of survival, adventure, and base building.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's from the guys who made This War of Mine, Frostpunk, which are very, you're managing people, you're managing supplies, you're managing building things. So it's very much that kind of game, but then you also have this very kind of Death Stranding vibe to your outside exploration. You have to go out and get resources. So they have a full 3D kind of world that you're going out in and getting these things. And then the big kind of story hook is that you're alone on this moving home and you have to have more people in order to fix it, to keep it going, to keep everything running. And the way that you get more people is that you are creating alternate versions of yourself. So you literally will look at all of your past memories and you go to like maybe 19-year-old you where you made a very pinnacle decision that changed your life. And you will pick the other one, and that will be the alter who will come and work on this ship with you.
And it's really interesting because
cool.
like the alternate versions of you end up having stats based on when they branch off your timeline. So like the alternate version of you that ended up working on the mine site with your dad is good at mining.
Yeah.
The alternate version of you that like, ended up loving gardens is like your botanist, So it's like a game about Siva and like recolonizing planets and the moral, ethical issues with having some resource that can just like super create anything very quickly. And it explores a lot of that really well. It's a very fun story.
What else? So it's also something from playing it that I didn't expect for them to do well, because it's a really interesting mechanic and I really like the mixture of base building and exploration and all of that. But it also, because you're looking at the memories of people throughout, this guy is like 30 something years old, his 30 years of life. It really gets you thinking about your life and like decisions that you made and how you might be different in an alternate timeline if you literally just did this one thing different. And they've done such a good job in writing that it really makes you very introspective on your own life as well. It's really incredible.
It is, word of warning, it's a pretty heavy story. Like it's got domestic abuse and stuff in there, and like it will most likely make you reflect on your own life regardless of like how much you see yourself in the characters. So it's not gonna it's not a chill story, but it's a very, very interesting sci-fi story, and it's very interesting just people story.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible. I can't wait to play more of it.
I'm at the point now. I'm like, I'm just so bad at base management, and I'm like, I'm
gonna have to put it on easy. I really am.
Yeah.
I've heard it's hard
too. everyone's getting pissed off at me because all your alternative versions want different stuff. So like,
Yep.
one of my guys wants a ping pong table. The lab guy wants more upgrades. We're running out of the radiation stuff, so everyone's getting radiation sickness. We don't have enough food. Someone wants like better cooked meals. I mean,
Fun
that's the whole
fact, I've
point of
never
this
reached
game.
the end of a base management game. I always end up
Has
failing.
anybody-
Everyone dies. It's bad.
Yeah.
No.
Myelin, did you do anything that made them happy? It sounded like they're all mad.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Fran.
Sometimes you make
When
them
it
mad to
comes-
make them happy as well.
Yeah, I would rather them be mad than dead. I had to fix the fucking
Yeah.
the radiation shields before I could make a ping pong table.
It's like Ras says, that studio is very good at making plate spinning games, and they really are. Same thing happened in this War of Mines. Going great, going great. Oh, grandma needs medication, but also Timmy needs medication. We can only do one
Yeah.
medication. Oh, grandma's dead. Oh God, we've got food's running out. And it just gradually just gets more and more on top of you, and you lose it. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's all falling apart.
Yeah, but I don't think some people have asked, like, is there any combat? No, I don't think there
I
is
don't think
combat.
so.
The survival aspect is more about like exploring. Actually, it's a bit Metroidvania. Like you kind of encounter things that you can't get past until you upgrade your base and get more tools to deal with them. It's more of an environmental combat than like fighting aliens or anything. It's more like, oh, there's a cliff face here. I need to like craft something to get up it, or this is anomaly that I don't know how to deal with. I need to I'm at a point where there's something that I need to create the right version of myself to know about it. Like to solve this puzzle, like I need to go find the right alternate version of myself to work out what this thing is and how to deal with it.
Yeah. It's
Very
really
clever.
cool. It's really, really cool. Very cool, very clever. Yep. I'm excited to play more of it. Fran, would you like to talk about?
Well, do we want to? Since it's up to you guys, since we're kind of at time, but so you make the call.
No, we
if you really
can.
wanna hear
No,
much
we've
about
got.
it.
What do you
we've
wanna
got-
talk about,
We've got
Fran?
6 minutes technically. But no, you
Okay.
talk about the thing you're excited about.
Yeah, no,
Bring it up.
it
What
was no
talk
big
about?
deal. There was a DK Bonanza Direct,
that's
if
right.
you didn't catch it, but that is like really the first, in my opinion. I mean, Mario Kart World is the first like Switch 2 big
Yeah.
exclusive, but like it's very expected, I think, in a lot of ways. So for me, seeing DK Bonanza, especially
first
in a
big
world where you're
announcement,
like,
yeah.
man, I really want a new Super Mario game, and they're like, where is that at? And like this
Yeah.
is probably that team that's working on the next Mario, mixed with other teams, but probably driven by EAD Tokyo. But in any event, DK Bonanza, if you haven't caught it, it comes out around July 17th. Nintendo had already showed, playing the game and everything around Switch 2 launch, but it was like one level, and people were like, I don't know, like you break through the ground and throw rocks around, and it looks like an action platformer.
Yep.
But now we got to see a lot of that. So it absolutely is. It's a full-on Donkey Kong and Pauline story, actually, which was the big reveal. And so it does have, she's like on your shoulder. You're mostly playing as Donkey Kong.
This
but there's some
surprised me. I
elements.
know nothing about Pauline, but I don't know
Yeah.
what's the lore of this matchup. Like, I don't even know who Pauline is.
Was Pauline's
I feel like
lore,
I'm gonna get it
Fran?
wrong, but wasn't Pauline the one at the top of Donkey Kong that he was like trying to get
Oh,
to?
is
like,
she the
original?
princess of Donkey Kong?
I thought that was Pauline. But see, now you're testing my Nintendo. But I don't know if that's how lore accurate, or I don't know if people figured out, because she's like sort of born out of this meteorite rock that lands, and like I'm
I
still trying
saw
to
that,
understand
yeah.
what the yes, and she's trying to get back to the surface, and like so I don't really know what it's trying to tell us, and probably how it ties into like maybe even Mario Odyssey as well in that. But anyway, not
But people
I
were,
can't do the lore. How dare you?
I read some of the
But-
comments of the Nintendo Direct, and people seemed pretty happy that Pauline was in there. So I think this is,
Yeah.
pretty on par
Yeah, it
with
is.
the
It is a
lore.
big deal on that front. Yeah, but the real news is they actually showed like a lot of the powers you're gonna have, showing off just tons of like what would the charm of it be, and yeah, like it looks really fun. It's got it actually has. I'll throw this out there for Donkey Kong fans. One of the levels you go full on Donkey Kong Country, right? The pre-rendered old school like side scroll, but it obviously is like an action platformer, mostly kind of spun out of what you saw from Super Mario Odyssey and stuff. And yeah, so it looks like super fun. You can get like superpower
does.
Donkey Kong. You can be ostrich Donkey Kong. You can be zebra Donkey Kong. and it looks like
Be
it'll be a lot
Donkey
of fun.
Kong?
Can you be Donkey? That is a great question because they would
Kong.
absolutely do stuff like that. I mean, you have literally, tons of puns in the game. There's Banandium. There is the big, well, I call it Big Banana Energy, but there is now Bananergy in the game,
Nice.
which is like a superpower element, and they've got like Ingot Island, right? So they love that stuff. But yeah, no, the Direct, I think, showed really well. It shows their charm and variety. So I'm more excited about it now that I've seen more. But it is still a big question of like, oh, is this going to be, a good loop? But it kind of took me back to why I liked Astrobot so much, right? It's very action focused, and for Nintendo to do, that their version of, well, I mean, they've already done action platforming, but kind of bring it back, let's say, and have Donkey Kong in it. It looks fun. So that's July 17th. And for me, it's the real test of why did I buy my Switch 2? Obviously, other than
everyone asking themselves that right now.
I mean, Tears of the Kingdom upgrade, and of course, Mario Kart World is just like so expected. But this one, I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
I kind of wish that
is
it was able to launch with it, but it looks cool.
Yeah, it does. It looks good.
Right.
Yay! Alrighty.
Video games.
Video games. There's so many fun ones. We've got Death Stranding coming up next week. And it launches on the 24th if you get the deluxe edition. 26th.
Oh, it's early access for
yes.
that.
Yes, it is.
That's a streamer fucking tax.
Yeah.
It's also the Monster Hunter player tax, because on the 26th, there's going to be, this is not just for Monster Hunter fans, but there's going to be a Capcom showcase. It's 45 minutes long, and they're going to be going over Title Update 2. So if you're unfamiliar with Monster Hunter stuff, they're adding Lagiacrus to the game. They also said they said monsters, so we don't know anything else except Laggy is going to be in the game. It's the only thing we know. So they're going over the content that's dropping in Title Update 2. They're also going to be talking more about Pragmata, which is really cool to see them talking about that again so soon. Gives me hope that it might actually come out next year. They're also going to be talking about Resident Evil 9, and then they're going to be talking about the new Street Fighter collection. So that's a pretty packed showcase. And Title Update is supposed to be dropping at the end of June. So I'm going to guess they're going to be like, it's available now. So.
Yeah, I was just trying to do that Death Stranding math in the background of all that too. I was like, wait, if it comes out on the 26th and it's 48 hours early, does that mean, like in our terms, Watts West Coast, that it's out Monday night at like 9 probably?
Oh, who knows? Sure. Who knows when it's out?
It might be out Monday night.
Could be.
Otherwise, I assume it's sometime on Tuesday and in West Coast time. So, but that's like days away.
It's days away. It's Thursday right now. I know. It's happening right now. It's happening right now. If you are interested in playing Death Stranding 2 and you're like, should I play Death Stranding 1? I mean, of course, in an ideal world, you play Death Stranding 1 and then you play Death Stranding 2. But they did put out a video on the story so far. Death Stranding put out an official video, so you can watch that.
Really?
I mean, honestly, I was watching it and I was like, I didn't know what was going on in the game.
In the world, I would not replay the first one because there's so many great games to play. And like, just watch it and then play this. Like, I'm assuming that this is like the kind of fully formed idea of it. Death Stranding, though, is really cool, the first one.
It's cool, yeah.
But I just remember the first like 3 hours being like even different than like where you eventually get with the like, oh, I get it, And so you might save yourself a lot of time. But play both if you got time. I put 80-some hours in that first one.
It's a big-ass game, yeah. Big game. Yeah, so join us next week for shenanigans. Lots of things are happening. We'll be, I guess, playing Death Stranding by next week.
Well, I'm going to be playing
oh, yes.
I'm going to be playing Chrono Odyssey in hopefully 4 hours' time. Which is a MMO that point of difference is meant to be the combat.
Yep.
It's not meant to be tab targeting. It's meant to be
more action.
I mean, they say Souls-like, but everyone says, I think action is probably a better description, which is exactly what I want. And like, this always what's put me off in MMOs is I just don't like tab targeting. I just find it a bit boring, and then it's really just a slot machine simulator, just trying to get the right gear. So gonna give it a shot. Look, it's been received really well from the early playthroughs. They've had really open dialogue with creators. Just watch a video before, because it's a Korean company, and they're like, everyone expects this to be pay to win. Like, tell us it's not going to, and this creator went ham on them, like said all the different variants, like it's not pay to skip, it's not pay for a currency that you can use to up, like there's no version of pay to, and they seem to say there isn't. So if it nails the combat and it's not pay to win, this probably should be on your radar. And I guess we'll get
It's on my radar. Yeah, I do. I am definitely interested in it. It's also because the other point of interest, which is good for me, besides the combat, is that they are making this game with the plan of having smaller teams fighting
Yes.
bosses. So
Yes.
in a lot of MMOs, you know, how good can a boss fight truly be when you have like 40 people
50 fucking
fighting
people, yeah.
the thing?
Yeah.
So their focus is on making a smaller team so that everyone can experience like a really good boss
Be
encounter
involved.
and be
Yeah.
involved. Yeah. So it's
That
ticking a lot of
interests
boxes.
me too, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like that's kind of the Destiny formula too. Is like you feel like you're part of an open world, but when you go and do an activity, there's 3 of you, or there's max, you know, there's 6 of you if you're doing a raid. Do you
Yep.
know? So it feels like that, where there'll be a dungeon that you'll go into your own instance, and that's going to help with your latency, and especially if you're doing like action, you want combat and
Yeah.
parries and dodges and stuff to be pretty up there. So there's no Aussie service, so I'll see how it feels as someone probably playing on a different server and what people are like. And
Yeah. We'll see.
I'm suppressing the hype for it at the moment.
Yes, we'll see. I also want to try it. We'll see if I can get in. I applied a long time ago. We'll see.
Do you have lurkets that
I do.
key? I got a code
yeah,
for
you maybe
that
could apply
today.
for it.
Just have a look.
Oh, okay.
You'll probably automatically. I've requested another one,
Okay.
so if I get another one, I'll send it to you. But
Oh yeah, let me know. Ooh.
yeah,
awesome.
you
I'll
might
check.
get access to that.
Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for episode, I believe it was 4,792. I believe that
Correct.
was, yep. Thanks for always listening to us, for watching and liking on all of the podcast platforms. Thank you for liking the YouTube video and for joining us live in Twitch chat. And we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. See ya.